What's up, fam? It's Nick here, talking to some Rev Gens today. Get your branding right. We're going to talk about overcoming objections. And why does overcoming objections matter? 99% of the time, it won't be a real objection when you're in a sales situation. It won't be. The reason for that is it's really, really hard to have a true objection. Because a true objection is they literally can't buy it. They can't afford it. They don't have the money or the ability to finance it. They can't swing it. It's impossible. It will take food off their table. It will kill their mortgage. It will bankrupt them. That is really the only true objection that can be a objection. The rest will be stalls, excuses, or complaints. So how you have to look at this and understand is that, again, there is a comparison between 2 points: the value of their money, the value of whatever it is you want them to buy. If they're even, you have the opportunity to make a sale, you're probably gonna have to overcome some objections. You can do it. If the money is way higher and value's down here, no shot. If it's this way, it'll be a laydown, or if it's off the chart, it's an easy sale, no big deal. So when you have an objection, the first thing you always want to do is you always want to agree. The reason you want to agree is you do not want to butt heads with your client. You won't get anywhere. Then you make it very clear that you are in opposition of the client. You're a hostile force. You are negative. You are not similar to them. You are trying to influence or push them to do something that they don't want to do. That is not the right mental approach to overcoming an objection. You want it to be very simple. You want to be on their team, on their side, to help them get what they want, to ultimately help you get what you want. And it has to be done ethically and in their best interest. And if you can align those things and genuinely believe it, you'll be amazed how many objections you will easily overcome, and how many excuses and complaints won't even come up, because the people can tell your conviction. They can tell your sincerity and how genuine you are. The biggest objections that are going to come up, there's really about 3 of them. Number 1, everyone's heard this one: I got to talk to my husband or wife. That is ultimately a time stall. Because 99% of the time, decisions are made without the husband or wife for most purchases period. That's how it's done. Unless it's a monster big purchase. And even then, a lot of times, one of the spouses will just handle it. 99% of the time, you're going to be talking to that spouse anyway, because they're the one that is the active decision maker. They're the one that responds to lead pieces. They're the one that looks for things, because the other spouse, whether it's husband or wife, takes a more passive role. They'll say, hey, just handle it, honey. And that could be husband or wife. Make sure, though, you address them both with equal respect and everything. But understand that one will be the primary decision maker, and that's normally who you're talking to, because they're the one that's going to take the appointment, the call, the next steps. They're going to be the action taker. That's who you want. So that's really just a stall. How do we overcome this? There are 2 ways that you can overcome this, and I'm going to go into it in a little bit deeper video. I'm going to touch on the other couple right now. The other one is, wow, it's too much money, or it's too expensive. I can't afford that. That is simply a mentality that they're having. That is simply their thought that their money is worth more than whatever your service or product or whatever you're selling fixes. It's not that big of a pain point. So you need to do 2 things to overcome that. You need to agree, oh yeah, it's definitely not, it's not a cheap product, it's high quality, it's the good stuff. And then you need to lower the value of their money and increase the amount of their pain. And the reason you do that is that affects that value balance. So when that teeter-totter starts happening, and you'll see it during the sale with various word tracks and how you get them to see your perspective as a salesperson, you can pull them out of that view and switch it. That is the easiest one to overcome, because you can attack it 3 ways. You can hit them with different terms. You can change the scope of the project to change the price, or you can alter what product is actually coming, the quality level. You always want to have multiple options. The other thing that's going to come and you're going to see is it's just not a good time. Time is the easiest and hardest objection to overcome because it's quantifiable and yet you can't designate a good time. Meaning, for example, they could say, well, something could happen tomorrow. I absolutely cannot dispute that. Something could happen tomorrow, but what are the odds of it? And that's why you have to take them out of the view, again, pull that perspective more to your side of the table by saying, absolutely, something could happen tomorrow. And if you would not have got this product, this could happen and it could be worse. Makes sense? So like, for example, in case of like a roof, home improvements are the easiest to overcome objections, in my opinion, because their consequences are unbelievably real. Insurance is one of the harder ones because they can't touch insurance, but they can touch their roof, and they definitely can feel rainwater hitting them in their house when there's a hole in their roof. So when they try to say, it's just not a good time for me to get a new roof. Really? Well, will it be a good time when the roof gets ripped off by a hurricane because it's 10 years out of date? Or will it be a good time when you have black mold that's choking you and your kids? Was that a good time? Might be a little bit better to be preventative, because then when you get it done, it's going to cost you double because all of the destruction of waiting. One of the examples I've used, and you can use this, feel free, guys, comment below if you have better or different stories or any way to overcome this objection. This is something that I've used, and insurance is really a big one for me. I always like to say, especially when you're selling life insurance, it's really nice to say when they're like, hey, it's just not a good time for me to do something. Well, it's not a good time to get sick. It's never a good time to, have cancer or pass away. The one thing about insurance is when you need it, you can't buy it. It's got to be preventative. You got to be ahead of the curve. And the beautiful thing about that is today is the day it's going to be as cheap as it's ever going to be. It's only going to get more expensive as you get older. Does that make sense? It's kind of like electricity. It only gets more expensive as time goes on. If you think things have gotten more expensive, kind of like gas prices. What was the gas prices, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, when you were a kid? I've heard people say ridiculous shit, like gas was a nickel. I wasn't alive in the roaring 20s, so I have no idea. My point is, when you start changing their perspective, you can overcome these objections. But you always agree first. And then we're going to agree, and just like a raging rapid, we're going to deflect, and then we're going to question it, and we're going to change their perspective on it, and then we're going to overcome it by giving them not only a logical tie, an emotional tie that join together to push our viewpoint forward with them at our side. We're going on the journey together. Get out there, close some more objections. Comment below and I'll go into more detail on these guys and we'll be able to get you some better word tracks and things. That's just the intro. Get out and sell something.